They smile. They laugh. They appear full of life. On the surface, everything about them seems radiant. Their words carry lightness. Their gestures carry ease. And they walk through the world as if untouched by sorrow. Yet behind their eyes, if you look closely, there is a storm no one sees. A quiet battle rages within. And the brightness they project is not always a reflection of their soul. It is often a carefully crafted mask. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." He meant that the mind multiplies suffering, that fears, regrets, and sorrows grow larger in our thoughts than in the actual wounds themselves. But what happens when this suffering does not merely echo inside our imagination, but is also hidden from the world? What happens when a person disguises their brokenness with a smile? The truth is, many people carry their grief silently. They wear joy like a costume, believing it protects them from the questions, judgments, or pity of others. Some fear that admitting their pain will make them appear weak. Others feel that no one would understand the depths of their sorrow, and so they laugh loudly while their heart cracks quietly. They play the role of happy so convincingly that even their closest companions cannot see through the act. Why do we do this? Why do we wear masks of joy while silently carrying shattered hearts? The answer lies in both pride and fear. Pride whispers, "Do not let them see you broken." Fear warns, "If they know, they will abandon you." And so we smile. We post pictures of perfect moments. We tell stories of laughter and success. Meanwhile, in the silence of the night, when the mask can be set aside, the truth returns. Tears come when no one is watching. Regrets resurface when no one is listening. Seneca would argue that this is dangerous, for when suffering is hidden, it grows heavier. A wound that is ignored only deepens, and a man who denies his pain may never learn to master it. It is not the man who is broken who suffers most, we might say in Seneca's voice, but the man who pretends he is not. To acknowledge one's suffering is not weakness. It is the first step toward strength. The Stoics taught that we must face our sorrows directly, not disguise them, not escape them. For the very act confronting pain transforms it into wisdom. Just as fire tempers iron, adversity tempers the soul. If we deny the fire exists, we remain fragile. But if we step into it with courage, we emerge stronger, unshaken, and resilient. And yet, how often do we choose the mask instead? We live in a world obsessed with appearances. On social media, everyone smiles. Everyone celebrates. Everyone appears full of joy. But beneath this painted surface is a generation of people weighed down by invisible burdens. The contrast between what we show and what we feel has never been so wide. Seneca would remind us, no disguise can protect you from yourself. What you hide in daylight will haunt you in the night. In other words, the smile we wear for others does not heal us. It may protect us from their questions, but it leaves us alone with our own despair. So what is the answer? To remove the mask. To stop pretending that happiness is the absence of pain. True happiness is the ability to carry sorrow without being destroyed by it. It is not to smile when broken, but to accept that being broken is part of being human, and to let wisdom guide us through it. If your heart is broken, do not act happy. Act wise. Seek the lessons within your suffering. Allow yourself to grieve, but do not become enslaved to grief. For even in shattered hearts, there is strength waiting to be awakened. And so, when you next encounter someone who seems endlessly cheerful, remember, their smile may be a fortress, not a reflection. And if you yourself are hiding behind such a fortress, consider what Seneca would say: remove the mask. Face the storm, and learn to master the suffering that life inevitably brings. On the surface, it looks real. A man laughs with friends at a crowded table. A woman posts a photo of herself on vacation, drink in hand, sunset behind her. A family smiles in a picture-perfect portrait, the kind that makes others envious. To anyone watching, these moments appear to be the definition of happiness. But Seneca warned us long ago about the danger of appearances. What we see is rarely the full truth. What is displayed is often a performance. People chase pleasures. They chase achievements. They chase the recognition of others, believing that applause will translate into inner peace. And for a brief moment, it might, but it never lasts. The promotion that was supposed to bring contentment becomes another rung on an endless ladder. The house, the car, the vacation, all quickly lose their shine, demanding something newer, bigger, or better. What remains is a hollow echo, a sense that happiness has slipped away once again. Seneca often reminded his students that true happiness does not come from what can be taken away. It does not live in wealth, reputation, or public smiles. These are fragile, and they deceive both those who display them and those who watch from a distance. Happiness displayed, we might phrase in his spirit, is often a shield, not a reflection of the soul. Consider the shield. It is meant to protect. When someone laughs loudly at a party, they may not be sharing joy. They may be hiding emptiness. When someone floods their life with distractions, filling every hour with activity, they may not be living fully. They may be running from silence. The shield works, at least for a time. Others are convinced. The outside world sees the glow, and so the person feels safe. But the soul knows, the heart knows. And when the noise fades, the hollowness remains. This is why Seneca urged us to look inward, rather than outward. He believed the pursuit of external happiness was an illusion that enslaves us. The more we chase, the more restless we become. The illusion is powerful because it feels real in the moment, but like water slipping through the hands, it can never be held. We can see this in modern life everywhere. Social media is a theater of illusions. Smiles are staged, lifestyles are curated, happiness is performed. And yet, behind the screen, depression and anxiety rise to our levels. This is proof of what Seneca knew. The more we depend on appearances, the further we drift from true contentment. So where does real happiness lie? Not in the applause of the crowd, not in the fleeting pleasures that vanish as quickly as they arrive. Seneca insisted it lives in the mind that has been trained in wisdom, a mind that has accepted the fleeting nature of external things, a mind that finds joy not in having everything, but in needing little. Happiness displayed is often a shield, not a reflection of the soul. When you see others radiant with success, remember that you do not know their inner condition. And when you yourself feel pressured to happiness, remember that the mask only delays the healing. True joy does not demand an audience. It does not need to be proven through wealth or smiles or applause. True joy is quiet, steady, and rooted in wisdom. It is not found in the illusions we read to the world. It is found in the peace we cultivate within. There is a heaviness that is rarely spoken about. Not the pain itself, but the silence that surrounds it. Many people walk through life carrying invisible burdens, sorrows that weigh down their chest, regrets that echo in the night, wounds that never seem to close. And yet, they speak of none of it. They laugh, they work, they nod politely when asked how they are doing. Outwardly, they are fine. Inwardly, they are breaking. Why do people hide their brokenness? The reasons are many, but they often come down to three: fear, pride, and protection. Fear, because to admit suffering feels like admitting weakness. We live in a world where strength is celebrated, and fragility is often judged. To say, "I am not okay," feels dangerous, as if it'll strip us of respect, or worse, leave us abandoned. Pride, because no one wants to be seen as fragile. Pride insists, "I can carry this alone. I don't need anyone." And so the weight is hidden, not because it is light, but because we want others to believe we are strong enough to carry it without trembling. And protection, because some feel they must shield others from their suffering. They tell themselves, I will not burden my family. I will not worry my friends. They smile, they reassure, they pretend, not out of selfishness, but out of love. Yet the silence grows heavier, and the burden remains unshared. This, Seneca would argue, is the true danger. For it is not the man who is broken who suffers most. It is the man who pretends he is not. The one who acknowledges his wounds and begins to heal. But the one who denies them locks himself inside an invisible prison. The chains are not forged by the pain itself, but by the refusal to confront it. Stoicism does not tell us to hide our suffering. It does not command us to wear a mask of indifference. Instead, it teaches us to face our pain without illusion, to admit it, to study it, to master it. Seneca himself endured exile, loss, and betrayal, yet he never claimed that suffering made him weak. What would have weakened him was denial, pretending that the storm did not exist. Suffering in silence does not make you strong. It makes you isolated. It deepens the wound. It convinces you that no one else has ever felt what you feel. And yet, the truth is the opposite. Everyone carries pain. Everyone bleeds. Everyone has nights where they feel the weight of existence pressing down on them. The Stoics remind us, pain shared with honesty is lighter than pain hidden with pride. Admitting sorrow is not defeat. It is the first act of courage. To say, I am broken, is not weakness. It is the first step toward becoming unbroken. The silent weight of pain is heavier than any visible burden, because it is multiplied by secrecy. But when brought into the open, pain loses its power to enslave. It may not vanish, but it can be transformed. The brokenness becomes wisdom. The suffering becomes resilience. The silence becomes voice. So remember, you are not diminished by your wounds. You are diminished only if you pretend they do not exist. For the man who hides his broken heart suffers twice, once from the pain itself, and once from the mask he wears to conceal it. One of the most dangerous lies we tell ourselves is that ignoring pain will make it disappear. We bury it. We distract ourselves. We push forward as though nothing has happened. Outwardly, we continue smiling, continue performing the role of happy for the world. But beneath that smile, the wound festers. Seneca's wisdom cuts directly through this illusion. Do not escape pain. Transform it. The heart that admits its wounds begins to heal. The one that hides them deepens the scar. This lesson is simple, yet brutally hard to live by. To admit pain is uncomfortable. It strips away the mask of perfection we build. It forces us to confront the truth, that we are fragile, vulnerable, not in control of everything. And yet, paradoxically, this acknowledgement is where strength is born. Seneca did not teach that we should run from suffering or pretend it does not exist. On the contrary, he believed that life is inseparable from pain, loss, betrayal, sickness, disappointment. These are not accidents. They are conditions of being human. To deny them is to deny life itself. The Stoic approach is not to escape, but to transform. To take the raw material of pain and forge it into resilience, wisdom, and clarity. Think about it. A scar is not weakness. A scar is proof that a wound has been endured and survived. But scars only form when the wound has been tended to. A wound left hidden, unacknowledged, becomes infected. It grows worse in silence. So too with the soul. If you hide your sorrow, if you pretend you are unbroken when you are, the wound remains open. Only by facing it, by admitting its presence, can healing begin. Now compare this ancient wisdom to the reality of our modern world. Social media is a theater where everyone plays the role of happy. Smiles in photos, captions about joy, filtered images of perfect lives. It is easy to believe that everyone else is thriving while you alone are struggling, but these displays are not the whole truth. More often than not, they are masks. Just as in Seneca's time, people are still hiding their wounds. Only now the stage is global, and the performance is constant. This makes acknowledgement even harder. To say I am not okay feels like breaking the unwritten rule of constant positivity. And yet, Seneca would remind us, appearances are fragile, but truth is enduring. The smile on a screen may convince the world, but it will never convince your own heart. Strength, therefore, lies not in pretending to be unbroken, but in admitting your brokenness and choosing to grow through it. Seneca might say, if you have fallen, rise. If you have suffered, learn. If you are wounded, acknowledge it, so that in time the wound becomes your teacher. This acknowledgement does not mean surrendering to despair. It does not mean wallowing endlessly in pain. It means standing face to face with suffering and saying, yes, you are here, but you will not define me. That moment, the moment you admit the truth, is the moment transformation begins. The world is full of people who act happy while hiding scars. Do not envy them, for many of those smiles are shields. Instead, be among the rare few who choose honesty over illusion. In acknowledging your ruse, you disarm them. In transforming your pain, you discover a strength deeper than happiness, a strength rooted in wisdom, endurance, and peace. For in Seneca's eyes, the strongest man is not the one who never breaks. The strongest man is the one who, when broken, does not hide it, but uses it as the foundation to rise. It is easy to believe that if we pretend long enough, the act will become reality, that if we smile wide enough, laugh often enough, and convince the world we are happy, we might one day convince ourselves too. But Seneca's wisdom cuts through this comforting illusion. Pretending happiness is dangerous, for no mask, no matter how carefully crafted, can endure forever. Sooner or later, the cracks begin to show. We all know what it feels like to wear such a mask. At work, when someone asks, "How are you?" we answer, "I'm fine," even when we are not. Into friends, we laugh at jokes, though our heart is heavy. On social media, we post bright pictures and cheerful captions, while privately wrestling with shadows. For a time, the mask works. It protects us from questions we do not want to answer. It shields us from vulnerability. It convinces the crowd, but it never convinces the soul. Seneca would remind us, no disguise can protect you from yourself. What you hide in the daylight will haunt you in the night. And that is the cruel truth of masks. They silence the questions of others, but they make the voice within even louder. At night, when the performance ends, the truth we buried all day rises again. We may hide our pain from the world, but we cannot hide it from ourselves. Why do masks fail? Because they are fragile. The human heart is not made for endless concealment. Eventually, the sorrow we disguise begins to seep through in unexpected ways. Anger at small things, exhaustion without cause, sudden tears we cannot explain. The more we hide, the more pressure builds beneath the mask, until it cracks under the weight of its own falsehood. Stoicism teaches that facing pain is not optional, it is inevitable. To pretend otherwise is to delay the reckoning. Seneca often warned against self-deception. He argued that it is better to confront suffering directly than to cover it up with illusions. For illusions give temporary comfort, but truth alone brings lasting peace. Masks also fail because they prevent connection. When we pretend to be fine, we block others from truly knowing us. Our relationships become shallow, based on the image we project, rather than the reality we live. The mask may win us admiration, but it denies us intimacy. It may protect us from judgment, but it isolates us from compassion, and in this isolation, suffering only grows. Think of a broken bone. If hidden and left untreated, it may allow someone to walk for a while, pretending nothing is wrong. But over time, the bone heals improperly, leaving a deeper wound, a greater weakness. The same is true of the soul. If we mask our brokenness, we may survive the day, but we do not heal. The wound beneath the mask grows deeper, harder to mend, and more painful to carry. Seneca's reflection is timeless. What you hide in daylight will haunt you in the night. The lesson is simple, though not easy. Acknowledge your suffering instead of disguising it. Remove the mask, and face the truth of your condition. It may be uncomfortable, it may expose your fragility, but in that exposure lies the beginning of healing. For the truth is this: no one can live forever behind a mask. Pretending happiness is not strength, it is postponement. And when the mask finally breaks, the pain that bursts forth is often far, far than if it had been faced honestly from the start. So do not hide behind painted smiles. Do not fear admitting that you are not okay. For courage is not found in wearing the mask. It is found in taking it off, and only when the mask falls, and the soul begin to rise. Every human life carries pain. To be alive is to be vulnerable to loss, disappointment, and sorrow. We are fragile bodies, fragile minds, fragile hearts. The mistake we make is believing that pain is that it is something to be escaped or denied. But Seneca and the Stoics knew better. Pain is not the enemy. It is a teacher. To suffer is not to fail. It is to participate fully in the human condition. The Stoic solution, therefore, is not to flee from suffering, nor to disguise it with false smiles, but to accept it, to look directly at the wound and say, "This too is part of life." Seneca would argue that what weakens us is not the pain itself, but our refusal to embrace its reality. We break not because life is cruel, but because we demand that it be gentle. True happiness, then, is not found in pretending that suffering does not exist. It is not the smile painted over a broken heart. It is not the distraction of endless pleasures. It is not the applause of the crowd which fades as quickly as it rises. True happiness is steadier, quieter, deeper. It is the ability to carry sorrow without letting it poison the soul. It is the strength to endure suffering without surrendering to despair. It is, in the words we might imagine Seneca saying, "If your heart is broken, do not act happy, act wise. Turn the fracture into strength." This wisdom is not abstract. It is practical. Every wound, every setback, every grief can either destroy us or forge us. The outcome depends not on the size of the pain, but on the choice of the sufferer. To act wise means to ask, what can this teach me? What strength can I build here? What illusion is being stripped away? When we approach pain with this mindset, the very thing we feared becomes the thing that frees us. Think of broken pottery repaired with gold in the Japanese art of kintsugi. The fracture is not hidden, it is honored. The break does not lessen the beauty, it adds to it. In the same, when we turn our fractures into strength, we do not erase the pain, we transform it. The scar becomes the story of endurance. The loss becomes the soil of wisdom. The heartbreak becomes the doorway to inner peace. In modern life, this lesson is more urgent than ever. We are taught to chase happiness, to perform it, to display it. But the more we chase, the more restless we become. The Stoicos pulls us in the opposite direction. Stop chasing. Accept what life gives, even the painful parts. Happiness is not about arranging the world to be free of suffering. It is about arranging the soul to remain steady, no matter what suffering comes. Seneca endured exile, political betrayal, and even the command to take his own life. Yet through it all, he returned to the same principle. The wise man cannot be destroyed by circumstances, because he has made peace with their inevitability. Pain will come, but peace is possible. Not peace as the absence of storms, but peace as the strength to remain unshaken within them. So when your heart is broken, Do not waste energy pretending it is whole. Do not act happy to appease the world. Instead, act wise. Look at the fracture and see in it the possibility of strength. Accept the sorrow, but refuse to let it define you. This is the Stoic solution. Not escape, not denial, but transformation. For true happiness is not the fragile mask of a smile. It is the unbreakable calm of a soul that has learned to live at peace with pain. So when you see someone who acts happy, pause before you envy their smile. Understand that what shines on the surface may not reflect the truth within. Their smile might be a fortress, not a reflection, a shield built to hide the storms raging inside. And when you yourself feel that familiar pull to mask your sorrow, remember, a mask does not heal. It only hides. The world teaches us to act happy. It rewards performance. It applauds the image of joy, even if it is hollow. But the Stoics remind us of a deeper truth. Peace is not found in acting. Peace is not the absence of suffering. It is the mastery of it. Anyone can laugh when life is easy. True strength is found in the one who remains steady when life is cruel. Seneca knew that every person will face grief, loss, and despair. He did not deny this reality. Instead, he embraced it. To him, suffering was not a punishment, but a chance. A chance to see what we are made of. A chance to rise above the illusions of pleasure and comfort, and to discover the bedrock of inner strength. Think of it this way. Storms do not destroy the mountain. They shape it. They carve it. They reveal its enduring form. In the same way, your broken heart does not diminish you. It shapes you. It tests you. It calls you to master yourself in ways comfort never could. Do not mistake mastery for indifference. The Stoic does not numb himself or pretend pain does not sting. He feels the sorrow, but he refuses to be ruled by it. He may shed tears, but he does not collapse. He may bend, but he does not break. This is not coldness. It is courage, courage to live fully, even in the face of suffering. And so, if your own heart is broken, do not wear a mask. Do not waste your strength, pretending to the world that all is well. Instead, turn inward. Acknowledge the wound. Learn from it. Let it refine you rather than destroy you. For in the words we might imagine, Seneca whispering, "If your heart is broken, do not act happy. Act wise. Turn the fracture into strength." This is the lesson that endures. Happiness displayed can deceive others, but wisdom endured transforms the soul, and the soul shaped by wisdom is unshakable. So as you leave these words and return to your life, carry this truth with you. Peace is not about escaping suffering. You cannot escape it. Life will bring storms, losses, betrayals, and griefs, but you can master them. You can rise above them. You can learn to live in such a way that no storm can uproot you. The smile of the world fades. Applause dies. Pleasures vanish. But the strength you build by mastering suffering stays with you. It becomes your companion, your foundation, your freedom. So remember this. When you see someone acting happy, their smile may be a fortress. And when you yourself are tempted to build such a fortress, resist. Do not hide. Do not pretend. For the Stoics knew peace isn't the absence of suffering. It is the mastery of it. And mastery, unlike illusion, cannot be taken away. If these words have stirred something inside you, do not let them pass like a shadow that fades when the sun moves. Let them settle. Let them work on you. For wisdom is not a spark that comes and goes. It is a flame that must be fed. And just as Seneca believed, philosophy was not decoration. It was survival. It was not for the lecture hall, but for the battlefield of life. You and I, we are both walking through that battlefield. Every day, life throws its tests at us. Some wounds are visible, many are not. Some struggles we share openly, others we lock away. And yet here, in these words, we find a bridge, a reminder that none of us are alone in carrying this weight. So if you have felt your own heart in these reflections, if you have seen your own hidden storms described here, then stay, walk with us, because Seneca's wisdom was never meant for the ivory towers of scholars. It was meant for people like you, living real lives, carrying real burdens, seeking real strength. The Stoics never promised a painless life. They promised a life where pain no longer masters you. And that is why these conversations matter. You may think it's just a video, just a voice, just an old philosopher's words. But for the one who listens with open ears, it can be more than that. It can be survival. And in this age when the world is louder than ever, when everyone is shouting for attention and very few are whispering truth, you need anchors. You need reminders that cut through the noise and bring you back to what matters. If you found even a moment of stillness, of clarity, of strength here, do not let it end with this video. Carry it forward. The Stoic path is not meant to be walked in isolation. Even Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, wrote his meditations to himself as a way to remind, to anchor, to steady his own mind. And here, in this small corner, we do the same. We return to the wisdom of Seneca, not because it is ancient, but because it is alive. So if these words have spoken to you, let them be the beginning of a journey, not the end. Stay with us. Let each lesson build upon the next, until the wisdom becomes part of you, until you no longer have to search for strength, because it is already living within your soul. Do not think of this as subscribing to a channel. Think of it as committing to a path where you are not alone, where every lesson is a step closer to the unshakable calm the Stoics sought, where every reflection is a shield against the storms that life will inevitably bring. So I will say it gently, but firmly. If this spoke to you, stay with us. Seneca's wisdom isn't just philosophy, it's survival. And survival is not meant to be done alone. Subscribe, not because I ask, but because you need these reminders. Because together we can walk this path of strength, steadier and wiser than before. And when the storms come, and they always do, you will not face them as one pretending happiness, but as one who has mastered it. That is the power of wisdom. That is the gift of staying.